All right. Sunday show is live here on
All right.
this wonderful 23rd day of November 2025. What a an interesting day yesterday. I mean, really nothing crazy happened, but still, yet it felt
I think it's
so
because
weird.
we had some crazy finishes that we thought we were going to get some chaos out of.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about all the things that we've seen or that we've got in the future here the next week or two. And why am I on basketball? Jesus.
Uh,
But
well, it is feast week, but we're feasting on some rivalry week actually over here.
well, we can do a little bit of both. We got some college basketball early season tournaments that we're pretty excited for. I'm pretty
Oh yeah.
pumped to get into. So, um, but with all of that, I mean, look, we've got some chaos scenarios in the ACC, tiebreakers that are going to happen. We've got teams that are eliminated from American Conference Championship contention with their losses. We have, I don't just go into the whole.
I guess we
Let's
should
shit here.
just break it down.
Yeah, I mean we got conference championship scenarios that are getting pretty tight at this point. We have some that are confirmed at this moment, and then others that just need this or this.
Hmm.
Um, it'll be pretty interesting. Conference USA is in a world of a mess. The MAC has got a world of a mess on its hands. The Mountain West has a hell of a mess that they're trying to deal with right now with their tiebreakers. Even
It seems like
the SEC has a
maybe
wonderful.
maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of the divisions. I don't know. Am I wrong there? When it maybe it wasn't
So
as good
I've
of a matchup, but we at least knew what the likelihood of the matchups were going to be going into the last week
so
of the season.
I have long, especially in this expanded conference format, said that I believe that we should be having two round robin divisions. If of 8 conference or 9 conference games, I don't really care.
Hmm.
However you want to do it, have two round robin
Hmm.
divisions with your cross division rivals, and then that would mean you get the best out of one division, best out of the other, or the ones that win the head to head out of one
Yeah,
division or the other, face off for seeding, and then you move on.
yeah.
The thing is that the the current landscape of college football, like it's not conducive to a no division format, even though they want it to be
Hmm.
a non division format. Like there's a reason that no other sport in the world does something where they don't play enough games to play everybody in their conference.
Yeah. As I say, I mean, even the NFL, you have 8 divisions, and that's part of how the scheduling dynamic flows. It's
Right.
just
It's like it's got the
counterintuitive to not have it.
yeah, you got the AFC, NFC, which are technically conferences, but then I look more at like the divisions as conferences when it comes to the NFL because you got like the NFC North, for example. The one who comes out of the top of that goes to the playoffs. The same deal for NFC
Yeah.
East, South, and West. So for me, I feel like a round robin format always is going to make more sense. But you know, I'm not the
Yeah.
one that's getting my pockets lined, so I don't know.
That's a great point. I mean, at some point here, I get the sense that we're going to see, you know, here as you know, um, the years go on with the expanded playoff, it's going to end up being like the FCS, where the idea of the conference title game that came about in the '90s, you know, it had its place, it had its time, but as we go further and further in the future, that's probably going to be phased out. I mean, especially if you see um, teams that would rather have a week of rest or whatever, and not have to worry about injuries for a conference championship, an extra game rather than start the 4-game path to a national championship. So
Yeah, it's going to be, again, interesting to watch as we see it more and more over the next few years.
mhm.
But with that said, let's go ahead and talk about some of these bigger matchups from the weekend. I'm taking a look at one thing real quick, and then I'll go ahead and carry this a little bit further forward. Just want to see
All
something.
good, all good, all good.
So, all right. So let's start with the game of the day in the ACC. Georgia Tech and Pitt playing in Atlanta yesterday. Boy, was I pretty close on this prediction. I predicted 42-34, Pitt to win.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were out by
And
6. We were out by 6.
I was to
I'm not
say,
mad.
and if you take away one of those early turnovers or maybe that pick six from the
That
goal
red zone,
line
yeah.
the other way, it's possible
Yeah.
that you end up getting that exactly right.
Yeah. Look, this game went exactly how we expected it to. Georgia Tech's defense has been their biggest problem all year. It's been the reason they've lost the game that they lost to NC State. It's been the reason they've been close to losing other games as well. This team
Mm-hmm.
has been far from perfect and really far from good on the defensive side of the ball. Pitt likes to try to run the ball, but they will just throw it around the yard. And when you have a quarterback that's confident but also capable, you get the results you get last night, where Pitt does really whatever they want in that first half, lead the game 35-14 at halftime, and kind of just coasting the rest of the way
Yeah.
as they collect their 8th win of the season. It'll set up a crash course with Miami. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But this game, I don't feel like I have a whole lot to say, simply because this game went the way. Like when I talked about this game the other day, I said Pitt's going to be able to get going, and they're going to take advantage of the fact that their defense is able to make stops, create turnovers, make something happen that Georgia Tech just can't do, which is why they'll be able to win this game. It worked out. I mean, the only thing that I can think of that went in a different direction than I thought was they ran the ball for 186, but Jakiron Turner had 201
Mm-hmm.
yards on 21 carries and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a conducive for a lot of success for Pitt. So a big win for them, and it sets up again this game against Miami next week for a chance to go and play for a conference title.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, this you harken back to what we talked about last week where, Pat Narduzzi said I could lose to Notre Dame by 100 and don't care because as long as we take care of business in our last two, we get a chance to, play for the ACC championship and play for the playoff. I mean, he's spot on. Like, he got a lot of flack for it, but he wasn't wrong. And, the focus wasn't, it wasn't like they were, laying down and quitting against Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame was just that much better. But you saw it didn't matter at all in that first quarter. They came out and, before you could even, if you were stuck in Atlanta traffic, late getting over there to Bobby Dodd, by the time you did, Pitt's already up 21-0, and that's the game essentially at that point.
Yeah,
So um, it's just one of those things that, like you talked about, and it was one of those things that Georgia Tech had to win this game in a shootout, and they just could not keep up with Pitt's offense and what they were able to do, especially in that first quarter. When you get yourself behind the 8 ball in that bad of shape, even if you are able to, make a comeback in the second half, it's just it wasn't going to be enough. So
yeah,
Georgia Tech's still not out of it for the ACC championship, but they're going to need some help because of that.
yeah.
And obviously we'll talk more about it. Um, I think basically what it would come down to, and I'll have to do some messing around with tiebreakers and whatnot. But right now they are rooting, I believe, for Pitt because they need um, they need a rematch with the Panthers in order to go Pitt and VT, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll come back to the ACC here in a little bit. Let's move
Hmm.
on to we'll go to Norman real quick. That was probably one of the games that the one game I previewed this week that I was wrong on in any way. And it kind of worked out the way I thought it would. It just Missouri's offense. One, we didn't know Bo Prabula would be back, and he was, and I don't think he was terrible. I just think that the pass protection
No.
wasn't great. They didn't do enough. I didn't think to really help him out. The run game didn't get going at all, and that was the storyline. Look, this Oklahoma defense allows 82 yards per game on the ground. You were going to have to find a way to throw it, and Prabula
Hmm.
did, but two mistakes in this game ultimately are gonna cost them and hold them back from being able to put points on the board.
Yeah.
The game as a whole played out kind of what you'd expected. The turnover luck once again favored Oklahoma yesterday. And if they win the turnover battle, they're winning the game. That's just how it's
Hmm.
been all year long. That's how it's going to continue to be. If they can win that turnover battle, they'll take control of the game. I mean, you got John Mateer leading the team in rushing with 60 yards. I don't think that's quite their intention, but they don't have anybody else that can run. This
Hmm.
Oklahoma team is good, and I don't know if LSU is saving a bunch, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say Oklahoma's gonna wipe the floor with
Oklahoma's a playoff
LSU
team.
next week.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
they're a
here's the
playoff team,
thing.
but I don't think they're a championship team. I think they're going to go
No.
out early. Is the problem? But
Yeah.
the issue that I've had, and the thing that keeps them in these games is we talk about offense wins games, defense wins championships. Well, they don't
Hmm.
have an offense, but they are dominating on defense to the point where, depending upon the matchup, they could go out here and have and make a run. The way
Yeah.
this year has played out, I mean, there are teams that are certainly teams they could stop. Oklahoma right now sits at number 8, and I don't believe there's going to be any change in that top.
12.
I don't think there will be any change. So Oklahoma currently would play Notre Dame. Poses a little bit of a threat, but I think that's a winnable game
Hmm.
for them. I think it's a winnable game, especially if they can keep. The biggest storyline is going to be nobody's been able to stop the running backs. Can Oklahoma be the anomaly, right? Can they be
Hmm.
the team that's able to match up at the line of scrimmage and slow that team down? They get through that. They play Ohio State, assuming they win out, right?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this bracket the way it is right now. They play Ohio State, a team that has struggled to find a consistent running back this year. They can run the ball, but they've just struggled to find a consistent back. A quarterback who has yet to really feel the kind of pressure that
Pressure.
Oklahoma brings, and overall still a pretty young quarterback. We talk about those two games. That would be another game. We're talking like Oklahoma, Ohio State, looking like OSU, Texas did.
Hmm.
You watch those two games because Oklahoma's not moving the ball on Ohio State either. There's still two winnable games. They win the turnover differential in both of them. They'll win those two games. And they say no, Oklahoma's in the semifinal.
Hmm.
And at that point, I think that's where we'll draw the line on them moving forward because then they would
Yeah.
probably play the winner of Georgia, Texas Tech.
Hmm.
And I would say
That you feel pretty good either way.
I think they could win that game too. I mean, genuinely, like if we're looking at this path that they would be able to take from the 8 seed right now. It would
Mm.
be very similar to what Ohio State did last year. It'd be almost
Yeah.
the exact same. But it would be favorable matchups. The only one that really, if they beat Notre Dame, they have a chance they could go all the way.
Yeah.
And then they play for a national championship. And assuming they get Indiana or Texas A&M, I think that's where I draw the line. I think they'd lose one of those games, because
Hmm.
what those two teams can do is much different and something that I think Oklahoma would struggle with. Like, there's a path for OU to go and make a deep run. Now that I actually sit and look at it, there is, just because of what their defense can do, how well they'll be able to play there. But I think it's unlikely, certainly. I'm just throwing it out there as a devil's advocate play.
Right.
But it'll certainly have some interest for me going forward, whether or not this Oklahoma team is as legit as it seems that they are. Um, the defense we know is legit. It's the offense, man. I need to see something from John Mateer over the next few weeks, in time for this playoff run, to really prove a point, like prove that he can still throw the ball and sling it around the yard, because the only one who hasn't done it yet is John Mateer. Out of these top 12, we have seen every other quarterback play to their potential.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing to me they're winning games right now the way they're sitting. I thought, and Missouri had their way in the front all game long. It was
Mm-hmm.
when they started when the turnovers took them out of the game.
Yeah.
And a couple missed kicks, but
Bro.
well, you know.
I mean, that Missouri's, had problems with their special teams all year.
Yeah.
So,
But I think the game as a whole though was pretty much in line with what we thought. I said John
yeah.
Mateer would probably throw for 175. That's what I said in the preview. Anyways, he's got to get to
Mm-hmm.
175. I think Oklahoma has a shot to win. He threw for 173. I mean, they ran the ball okay. They tried, but they didn't do anything crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They slowed down Missouri's rushing attack, which is one thing we hadn't seen too much this year.
Yeah.
It was a big win for Oklahoma.
You're absolutely right.
Going to Eugene real quick. Talk about a game that went about as you'd expect. I think this was one where, look, the issue is not USC's offense. That's certainly not the case. But Oregon
No.
and their ability to move the ball and make these plays in space. I mean, we saw USC kind of revert back to some old forms in their defense, and it's just because this Oregon team is so dangerous in space. It's one thing that makes them a dangerous team all the way through the playoff. Like this is a team that's going to be able to create a lot of big plays, and they do it by just again allowing their athletes to be the athletes and allowing this team to do what they need to do. Noah Whittington was great. Jordan Davison, one of those freshman running backs they love, was good today or yesterday. And this was a really an all-around effort from this Oregon team when they needed it the most. I certainly felt like USC had a chance in this game, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing was a couple turnovers from Mayava, and this game kind of tilted a little bit, and you just felt like the home field advantage, the crowd was going to just keep them in this thing the whole way.
Oh yeah.
It's a big one for Oregon. They get Washington next, who just obliterated UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Win that one, which I think they will. I think they'll be fine in that one. Take care of business there. You're going to the Big Ten title game. Ohio State has to lose, but you can go to the Big Ten title game. It's still on the table. But you're certainly in the playoff. I think you get murky if you lose to Washington. So that'll be an interesting spot to watch next week.
There's also if Oregon wins next week, there's some weird voodoo that can happen if Indiana and Ohio State were to both lose. I don't think Indiana's going to, but it's again, it's wild, the scenarios, the possibilities that are still alive and at play as we get into rivalry week. But yeah, this was a very, very solid win for Oregon. It was one of those that, like you said, it kind of played out the way that you expected it to. It's not like I thought that USC was, that much worse off. They were hanging around in the first half and able to compete. A missed field goal at the break, hurts. They weren't able to capitalize and get red zone points, I believe, early in the second half that would have helped them get back in the game. And, Oregon just kind of did what they needed to do and put the game away. When it became 35-27, they got that, touchdown to make sure that they would be coming out on top. And so this is an Oregon team that, they're determined to, running into that buzzsaw that was Ohio State last year. They don't want that to happen again. They want to, get some unfinished business taken care of here in 2025.
Yeah. All right, we're going to shift gears, and this is going to be a very, I should say, this is going to be kind of a quicker show. There's just not as many games to talk about as we normally have, especially in terms of the big-time matchups. We're going to go through scores. If there's an interesting one, we'll spend some time on it, but otherwise, we're pretty much going to kind of roll through here and the things that made sense. Georgia beat Charlotte 35-3. They don't ever run the square up. They don't ever cover in these games. You'd expect them to, but they just don't. It's not the way their offense works. So a big one, or really not a big one, just a win for Georgia.
Three touchdowns for Bo Walker the one of those running backs that Georgia seemingly has buried on the depth chart, and good on him getting to get some playing time here in a big time, well, not a big time win, but I don't know
Just
how to
quit while
say
you're
this.
ahead. You're
Yeah,
good.
uh,
There's not much need to talk about that one. I don't
right.
think. Tulane 37-13. Look, I thought Temple might hang around a little bit, but Tulane has definitely kind of flexed their muscle a little bit. And with JMU, we'll talk more about them. But with JMU kind of struggling their way through Washington State, I think Tulane's certainly taken that control of that top spot. And I'm excited because I think the matchup plays pretty well when we talk about what they'll have ahead of them going forward. Tulsa beats Army 26-25 on a walk-off field goal. I think it was a walk-off field goal. It was a late field
There
goal
was
at
like
that.
10 seconds, something like that.
But a big win for Trey Lamb and that crew, and certainly makes me feel better about the game in 3 weeks. Go Navy.
Yeah, I was just say it was a like 12 unanswered for Tulsa in the fourth quarter after Army went up 25-14.
Yeah.
It helped out by a touchdown, first career touchdown for former Crandall Pirate Josh Smith for the Tulsa
I
Hurricane.
wondered where this was going because I was like, I don't care enough about this game to talk about it. So okay, I
Well,
suppose that's all right.
that made it 25-23. They didn't get the two. They got to stop. They get the ball back, go down, and kick the field goal
Yeah.
to win.
UConn takes down FAU 48-45. This game went about like we thought it would. FAU covers, by the way. That's our first lock that we'll talk about today. FAU plus 6.5 was a hit yesterday. En route to a 6-4 week, by the way. En route to a 6-4 week, with which I am now, by the way, if you are curious. At one point, we were 14 games below 500. On this, damn, I got something. Are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Dude, that was fucking crazy. That hurt like hell.
What happened?
I think it was like an eyelash or something. Damn.
Oof.
Fucking dog shit, man. Fuck. Damn, dude, that really did fuck me up. What the fuck is going on?
I'm just now seeing the replay.
Yeah, dude, I don't have any
I don't
fucking
know what
idea.
happened either.
I think I got it sorted out. Hope so, anyways.
Okay.
You're all up close to the camera with my eyeball open, see if I can fucking see it. No.
Yeah.
So at one point, I was about 14 or 15 games below 500.
Mm-hmm.
With the last 3 weeks all being above 500, we have brought it back down to a 59-65 record.
Look at that.
I cannot quite believe it. I can't comprehend how in the hell we managed it, but we are at 59-65 with 1 week to go before we get in the conference championship week, which we'll have, I think, we'll have a handful of bets, but I'm not betting 10. We're in a decent spot. We're in a decent spot to maybe push for that 500 mark again. So
Most
cool with that.
definitely.
But anyways, UConn
way,
with a good win there.
Yeah, they were up 24-3 at the end of the first quarter. Just let that one sink in.
Yeah. Joe Pagano, another 446, 3 touchdowns, no pick kind of day for him. So yeah, good for UConn. 9-3, man.
Yeah.
9-3.
Nearly 500 yards passing for FAU, Veltkamp.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that's the Zach Hitley style, but man, it was an interesting one there. USF and UAB, we had some interesting news come out of UAB yesterday morning, and I'm not going to spend much time on it because we got a long way to go before we get to some answers. But a pretty tragic situation. One of the UAB offensive linemen ends up stabbing 2 of the defensive linemen for the Dragon program, Blazer program, and was arrested on scene yesterday morning in the team facility. They decided they were going to play the game yesterday, which surprised me, I guess, to a point. But they get drugged. I mean, this is just the story of this UAB program, though. I mean, this is kind of getting to be just where they are. I mean, look, they got run into the ground by Trent Dilfer over the course of his tenure. They had the one pretty big win, I suppose, with what was it, Chris Mortensen's son,
Yes.
as the interim head
Alex.
coach. But look,
hmm
it's just
Over Memphis.
this is just not a this is a program in some serious trouble and some serious issues around it, some serious culture issues, and it's unfortunate. That's going to overshadow what this game was for South Florida, a big win, 30-point victory. Um, Unfortunately, USF pretty much eliminated from conference championship picture, so it's
Outside
interesting.
chance, but I mean it's going to take some help. South Florida, ECU, both still kind of alive, but again, it's they don't control their own destiny. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, ECU got absolutely blasted yesterday by UTSA, 58-24. Just not what I thought that game was going to look like when we walked in there yesterday. Thought that East
No.
Carolina would be able to kind of do what they wanted, have their way. But UTSA at home in the Alamo Dome has been really solid this year, and
Yeah.
I thought they'd be able to get to Luke Owen McCown a little better and create a little more problems in the backfield for the UTSA offense. They didn't. UTSA gets a big win, so knocks ECU pretty much out of contention. They'll sit back there with their 2 losses and watch from home as everything else
Yeah.
unfolds.
I mean, look at like you said, UTSA 4-1 at home with wins over Tulane and ECU now. And only home loss was to Texas State back in week 2 by a touchdown, which seems like it has not aged well. Obviously hadn't, but not a bad team with, I think they're only really, 2 bad losses, or well, I guess they have 3, but anyway, yeah, ECU ran into something that they really weren't expecting, and that's their first really embarrassing loss of the year.
North Texas with a 56-24 win over Rice. This was 14-0 at one point in favor of the Owls. North Texas bordered on a lot of deep passing plays that worked out for them.
hmm
Just another big game. North Texas is in control of their own destiny right now. They all they got to do is
Yeah.
win next Saturday, and they will be making. As a matter of fact, they will be hosting the conference title game against whoever is able to come out next week. I believe the tiebreaker goes to Tulane, but I could be mistaken because they didn't play
So,
each other. I don't know what the common record is.
so the I believe that if it's a 3-team tie with them, Army or Navy, North Texas, and Tulane, they would look at conference or college football playoff rankings, and then they would look at computer rankings if there's not a scenario where only one team is ranked, where that would be Tulane, then Tulane would kind of get the edge in that respect. But if it's not, if North Texas is not ranked by the committee on Tuesday, then there's a possibility that it would be Navy if they avoid an upset against Memphis on Thanksgiving night, regardless of what North Texas does. So there's still some very interesting American scenarios, but yes, in all likelihood, if North Texas handles their business, they and the committee reacts and places them accordingly, um, they will host, and that may be a game that I try to find my way over to, depending on what work obligations and timing allows, if that's in Denton.
Yeah. All right. Moving to the Conference USA for just a moment. We accidentally talked about Georgia in the American, but it's all right. In the Conference USA, we got Kennesaw State with a win over Missouri State. They remain a one-loss team in the CUSA. Louisiana Tech with a 34-28 victory over Liberty. I'm not spending a bunch of time on this.
I was just gonna say, go ahead touchdown pass in the final 30 seconds for Kennesaw, and a good back and forth game there.
Middle Tennessee State, that's our first loss in the lock column this week. Middle Tennessee State wins 31-17. I had Sam Houston plus 6.5. Can't win them all. Sam Houston played well enough that I figured maybe they'd be able to bring it back, but as they say, Vegas knows.
Yep.
Uh, New Mexico
I
State
mean, Sam
wins.
Houston got up to 10-0.
Yeah, yeah. New Mexico State wins 34-31 over UTEP, taking home the Silver Spade. That's a big win for them. That's a big one on the road specifically. They have had their moments this year where they've looked pretty solid, and then they've had moments where they've just played terribly. They've had a handful of close losses in conference play. A team that I think is a little better than their record indicates, but I feel the same way about UTEP. So this game, to me, I felt like home field advantage would play a bit of a difference. But again, New Mexico State gets the win and takes it home in the battle by 10. You don't have nothing to say about that one? Okay. All right. FIU 20.
I didn't get a
Everything
chance
else.
to watch it. So
Okay. FIU beats Jacksonville State 27-21, entering us into another chaos scenario where Western Kentucky tied for first, Jacksonville State tied for first, Kennesaw State tied for first. BJ, you know all the conference tiebreakers. What's this one?
this is actually a very interesting question. Let me see
Great.
if I can shed some light. Hold on.
I'm glad you've done your research. What do we have you?
Well, I was just saying this is. I wasn't expecting you to throw it to me for the Conference USA of all things, but
You've had every other one. Carry
so
on.
if it looks like because Jacksonville State beat Kennesaw State, they just need a win next week and they'll get into the conference title game against if they beat Western Kentucky. If Western Kentucky wins, then they will be in and they'll play Kennesaw State if Kennesaw State wins their game next week, or they need to have Western Kentucky lose to Jacksonville State, and it'll be a Jacksonville State Kennesaw State rematch.
Okay, so we're gonna get that no matter what next week, or we'll get the answer next week with
Yeah.
Jacksonville and Kennesaw
Yes.
State playing each other.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. All right, looking ahead to the MAC because I don't have anything else for the Conference USA.
No.
Tuesday night we saw Akron beat Bowling Green 19-16. A big win for Akron. It finishes their season at 5-7. So a great year for the Zips, and a year that we kind of talked about how that they're not bowl eligible. They had no shot to play for a bowl game. They had every reason they could have left and quit on themselves, and they didn't. They continue to fight. Joe Moorhead's done a good job of getting this team prepared and in a more competitive spirit than they ever were previously, or than they had been recently. So a big win for them over Bowling Green on Tuesday. Western Michigan takes care of business against Illinois. They are just in a win and in scenario next week in the in their game. They play.
Let's see.
I got it. They play Eastern Michigan on Tuesday night. So they're on the road in Ypsilanti, but if they win, they will make their way and lock their trip up to Detroit. Ohio beats UMass 42-14 in a game that was rain delayed. Didn't really slow anything down, but a big win for Ohio. They continue to roll. UMass looking like they're going to finish 0-12. They have Bowling Green next week at home, Senior Day in Amherst. We'll see. Stranger things have happened. On Wednesday night, we saw Miami, Ohio beat Buffalo 37-20. A pretty solid victory for them. DeQuan Finn quit on the team, and they came out and looked even better without him. So a good win for them. Central Michigan beats Kent State 28-16. Speaking of good wins, that was a big one for them. They take care of their business, and as of right now, I don't know what the exact tiebreaker scenarios are. I don't know who it would be. We got Ohio, Toledo, Central Michigan, and Miami, Ohio to determine. We'll carry through the scores real quick. From Saturday, Toledo wins 38-9 over Ball State. Emphatic victory there. So, BJ, if you will, with the tie-breaking scenario for that second place.
Western Michigan is in a position, like you said, if they win, they're in. If they don't win, they can get into the game in Detroit. If Miami or Buffalo were to find a way there, it looks like it would have to be Miami of Ohio because of the Buffalo loss. Ohio's in a solid spot. With a win, they will most likely be in. It would be clinched if Toledo beats Central Michigan to end the year. If Toledo wins out, they would need some help in the form of an Ohio loss. Central Michigan needs a loss from Ohio as well as a win over Toledo. And then Miami of Ohio needs to win out plus a loss from Ohio to go. So still quite a bit to determine in the MAC, and it'll be very interesting to watch it all play out on over the course of Tuesday and
Of course, a
Saturday, I
feast week,
believe.
as we call it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we or Tuesday,
in the
Friday,
middle of
and
Thanksgiving week, man, that's crazy. All right,
yeah, I was to say
I
that
feel like
that
it. I feel
Tuesday
like it's
game.
never that. Like, I feel like they have their weekday games, but I feel like they never play on Tuesday during the week of Thanksgiving. It just.
No, they do. They just don't play Wednesday, I
I
think.
think they used to not do it though. This is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
back when Maxon first started, I don't think they played during the week on Thanksgiving week. I think they went back to Saturday for the final Saturday of the
I
season.
think you're right.
But
Also,
it's
let's look
been
at the
interesting.
4:30 Eastern kick for Bowling Green to UMass on Tuesday. That's if I've ever heard of a let's get the hell out of Dodge and end this season for both teams. Like I'm surprised they're not playing it at 3:30 in the morning so
I'm
they can
surprised they're not
just
playing
get
it
it over.
tomorrow and just being done, dude. It's being like, you know what, we'll play. Fuck, we'll play back to back. We'll play on Sunday and just
Yeah,
get it done.
yeah.
But
Let's
no,
let's
it'll be interesting. Eddie George's first year. We're gonna go through and do grades on everybody at the end of the year, and Eddie George's first year definitely had left a lot to be desired with what they had. I mean, they had some serious talent, I thought, based off of what they were last year, and they didn't really live up. So we'll get to that later.
yeah.
Mountain West. UNLV beats Hawaii 38-10 on a Friday. That opens up for kind of smooths out some things in that regard. Nevada beats Wyoming 13-7. Fucking where did these guys come from? I mean, my God, Jeff
Right.
Choate decided he wanted to coach some football or what? I mean, 13-7. They dominated San Jose State last week. That's 2 straight wins for Nevada.
Yeah.
And they're sitting here. They're going to play UNLV next week. At least I figure that's the
I think
case.
so.
Yeah, they'll host
Yeah.
UNLV in Reno next week. Man, they could really throw some wrinkles in the plans here of the conference.
I would say they ruined the Josh Allen retirement ceremony by winning that game.
Yeah.
The first ever Wyoming Cowboy football player, if I'm not mistaken, to get his number retired.
Yeah, he joins 2 players from the basketball program, and that's it.
That's what I thought. Mountain West title scenarios. Do you want me to wait on those?
It'd be nice if I could get through the rest of it because we got some interesting things that happened yesterday too.
Yeah.
New Mexico beats Air Force 20-3. And that's kind of right on par. Boise State beats Colorado State 49-21. That was pretty much the expectation there. Max Cutforth looked much better yesterday than he did against San Diego State. 22-34 for 239. Didn't have a touchdown or even an interception, but just did enough. And this team really dominated on the ground, took care of business when they needed to the most, and keep themselves alive in this race.
Yeah.
A team that did not take care of business when they needed to was Fresno State at home last night, losing 28-17 to them Aggies of Utah State, who are now going bowling, as Cam made sure to let us know last night while we were in Discord. Look, this is a big win for Utah State. You can see that they're starting to finally figure out who they are, hit their stride, and gain an identity under Bronco Mendenhall. Still feels wrong to say, but
right.
I mean, this is a big deal for them, right? They want to close the season out in a big way. Don't look now, but if I'm not mistaken, Senior Day next week, they host Boise State.
Ooh.
4.5 point dogs next week at home in a 4 p.m. kickoff in Logan.
How much does that double overtime loss to UNLV sting a little bit now? Because I mean, if you're 5-2 into going into that game, I mean, you still have an outside shot of being in. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Utah State has really figured themselves out. I mean, even with that game last to UNLV, like it is what it is, but they're in an interesting spot. We have a 3-way tie for second, but we have one team that just knows what they got to do next week. That's San Diego State, another lock that we had. San Diego State minus 11.5. They go out and win 25-3. Take care of business on San Jose State, and man, again, we talked about it yesterday with Cam on here, obviously, as he's the Mountain West expert of sorts.
Hmm.
And we talked about Jaden Denegal. It had nothing to do with what they did through the air yesterday. Not at all. 8 of
Yeah.
16 for 81 yards. This team ran for 167 and 3 touchdowns. They did enough, right? They also created a couple of turnovers. They just did what they needed to do. 248. They got outgained 268 to 248. They still dominated this game. This is a really good team. This is one of the best defenses in the group of 5, plain and simple.
Yeah.
San Diego State, I'm excited to see what they do. They have New Mexico next week in Albuquerque. A little bit of an upset spot on Friday, but it'll be an interesting one to see what comes of that one.
Now here's the path. San Diego State, if they win, they're in. If they lose to New Mexico, they need some help from Hawaii. They need Hawaii to lose because since New Mexico won this week, New Mexico would win out. UNLV would need Boise State and New Mexico to both lose their respective matchups this coming week in order to get in. They lose a tiebreaker to either team. They did get the loss from Fresno, so that does help clear the path a little bit for them. If Boise loses, they will need UNLV to lose. Let's see, New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico gets in with a win and a Boise State loss to Utah State.
So who is
Boise,
the win and in scenario right now?
San Diego State.
Well, who's the win and in out of these 5 and 2 teams? Like there should be one that just says just win next week.
Let's see. I'm looking. Let's see here. See if I can find anything. Not seeing anything that's like just winning in. It looks like it's going to depend on.
That's
depend
fine.
on
I'm
some
not
of.
wasting my time on this shit.
Right.
We'll figure it out. Louisiana at Arkansas State. We're going to the Sun Belt now. Louisiana with a 34-30 victory on Thursday night. That was a heck of a game, by the way. But Arkansas State at home they've been hit or miss. They've played well and they've also played poorly. What is this guy? Well, let me make sure I get this right here. Lunch Winfield. Yes, that's a real name. 147 passing yards, added 89 on the ground and 2 touchdowns, leading this Cajuns offense to victory on Thursday night over Arkansas State. Takes Arkansas State out of possible contention. They were 4-2 going into that game. Now Louisiana is in a position where they could possibly make a trip to a conference title game. They need a little bit of help, but it's going to come through the fact that they can't because Troy and Southern Miss play each other next week. The winner is going to go to the conference title game, and it's going to probably be Troy because Southern Miss has been without Braylon Braxton and struggled, but we'll talk about that later. This Louisiana team has been definitely kind of bringing themselves back in the conversation over the course of the last few weeks. 1 win away from bowl eligibility. They'll play Louisiana Monroe next week, of course. So they'll be in spot to do it. Jalen Rayner was solid. It just wasn't good enough. They'll play App State for their own. Those teams will be playing for bowl eligibility as well next week. Over in Boone. So, yeah. Let's see. Washington State and James Madison. JMU gets to win 24-20, but likely eliminated themselves from playoff contention. If they weren't in the conversation before this game, they certainly aren't in it after. It's unfortunate, but you got to take care of business. Yeah. You got to do it with some style points if you're going to really open up some conversation about being there. They didn't, plain and simple. This was not the game they needed to have. So JMU, 24-20 win, but likely official that we will not be seeing them in the playoff.
I mean, it's one of those things, like you said, that, when we saw the rankings and JMU wasn't even in the top 25, it just didn't bode well. They needed some, they needed to come out and do more, obviously. And it was, they didn't score an offensive touchdown, I don't believe, until the second half, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just can't do that if you expect to get any love from the committee. Going
into this game, there were 2 games this season where JMU had allowed 300 or more passing yards, or 300 or more yards total in a game. Yesterday they allowed 301. their third game with 300 or more yards this season. Still an impressive
To a
stat
5
line,
and 6
but
Washington
yeah.
State team.
Yeah. Old Dominion beats Georgia Southern 45-10. That was, that's not what I thought was going to happen based on what Southern did last week when they played Coastal, but definitely a big win for ODU, man. They've proven that they are pretty much second in line to JMU this year. So a big win for them. App State gets a late field goal to win over Marshall. That's a big one for them on their what was that? Their patriotic night. I can't remember what the fuck they called it, but a 26-24 victory for them. South Alabama takes down Southern Miss 42-35, entering us into this win-and-in scenario that we were already really in, but we're further into it now with both these teams being 4-2 in conference play. A big one for South Alabama. Kind of called this one yesterday going into it, that Southern Miss, their offense has just didn't look good enough. Braylon Braxton was back, 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, but it just wasn't good enough. Their defense played bad. That's the second week in a row the defense has really let them down.
They were down 35-14 going into the fourth.
Yeah, they just didn't do enough.
Yeah.
Troy beats Georgia State 31-19. That's a game that we figured would happen. So Troy again, that sets up that matchup next week in Troy for a trip to the title game against JMU, I think.
Yes.
And then Texas State beats UO Monroe 31-14 to get their second straight conference victory this season. That's a big help for them too, by the way. I mean, they're now 5-6, 2-5 in conference play. I don't know who they play next week. I'd have to go.
Oh, look. It's
South Alabama.
It's home against South Alabama.
Okay, well, that could be fun. All right. That's your G5 look. I don't think there was anything really surprising. I guess Utah State taking down Fresno State on the road, but that's really the only game that kind of caught me off guard. Even that game didn't really catch me off guard. It was just a matter of I thought Fresno State at home would be the play there. So a big deal for those boys over in Logan. They get a chance next week to spoil the season of Boise State, and I know Cam is really looking forward to that idea. We may have to do just a conference, like a G5 preview this week somewhere, like where we just come in on Friday maybe and just look through, or not Friday. We'll have to come in before Friday to kind of look at all the conference championship scenarios. Maybe that's what we'll do tomorrow. We'll get a Monday video out. Look at all the conference championship scenarios around the sport and kind of see what needs to happen to get where. That would be an interesting
It looks like it would be Boise winning in based on the tiebreakers with UNLV. But that's not 100%.
I'm sure there's some fucking common opponent record thing that has to take place. I don't care enough about that. I think that's the dumbest shit ever. If you have a head-to-head victory over a UNLV, which Boise does, okay. I mean, that's it. Boise State should be in over UNLV.
Yeah.
The only way that should matter, in my opinion, of these two lost teams here, Boise State, New Mexico, and UNLV. Boise State, New Mexico didn't even play, did they?
Boise, New Mexico?
No, they did not.
I thought no.
So, Boise State beat UNLV. There's your head-to-head right there. UNLV lost to New Mexico. Therefore, UNLV should not have anything to do with this conversation. That three-way tie should not have anything to do. And we should be doing common opponent record between Boise State and New Mexico. What we should be doing are record versus common opponents. And if that's the same, we should be taking whoever has the best overall record. That's what we should be doing. Like, let's simplify this shit. Let's stop making this such a complicated issue. UNLV is should be eliminated unless Boise State and New Mexico lose next week. That should be your tiebreaker right there. UNLV is not able to make the conference championship unless those two teams lose next week. There should be no other conversation. Boise State and New Mexico should be whoever they played that was the same, what their record was, and if that's the same, go to overall record. So if New Mexico's 9-3, New Mexico's 9-3, and they're the ones that get in.
Yeah, it looks like New Mexico, San Diego State are winning in, as well as Boise. UNLV needs some help.
Well, how's New Mexico and Boise winning in? One of them can be winning in. Only one of them.
Well, New Mexico's playing San Diego State, so if New Mexico beats San Diego State, they
Oh
get the
fuck, you're right.
head-to-head.
I forgot that
Yeah.
was the the matchup.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't looked ahead, but
No,
okay.
it's all
So
good. That's why I'm here.
sure, I guess yeah. In that case, that should be the case, winning it. But
It really comes down to Boise win, they're in. The winner of New Mexico and San Diego State is in. UNLV needs a Boise loss in order to, and a win themselves to get in. That's really all there is to it in the Mountain West.
UNLV
It's
need
really
okay.
just 4 teams.
I guess they need a Boise and a New Mexico loss to get in.
Well, I think so. Let me double check. Utah State, UNLV, New Mexico. Yeah, so if Boise and New Mexico lose, it's San Diego State and UNLV, and
Well, yeah.
then you
Okay.
have
Okay. I got you.
5
All right.
teams tied for third.
Okay. Outside of this confusing shit. All right. Friday ACC. NC State beats Florida State 21-11. Florida State's not out of bowl competition yet. They will play Florida for a chance to go bowling, but they'll probably be going.
I was about to say, is that 9 a.m. on Cartoon Network that game going to be played?
I don't know. It should be.
I don't think there's a whole lot of care on that one.
ESPN2 at 4:30. Okay.
Oof. Oh my gosh.
And then yesterday we had Notre Dame beat Syracuse 70-7. That's the worst loss for Syracuse since 1891. They lost 2 games in 1891 by worse. So
I think they played Notre Dame and lost 70-7 in 1891 as well.
They did not. No.
Oh.
You did not read that graphic properly because I went and looked, and that was not the graphic. Would have implied it, I think, yes, or tried to imply it, but it did not. That's not what happened, and I went and looked, and no, they didn't. As a matter of fact, I don't believe they lost or even played Notre Dame that year. So,
okay,
way back when.
Makes sense.
Miami and Virginia Tech. Miami wins 34-17, misses a cover by half a point, but as a matter of fact, that wasn't even on my take 10. But a big win for them. They have a game against Pitt next week. I think Miami's out. I'd have to. So Miami can get in, but it requires
convoluted.
For all intents and purposes, Miami's out unless this chaos scenario hits. Miami's out because it requires SMU to lose, and they are playing Cal. So let's pump the brakes on that. It requires them to beat Pitt,
which could happen, but
no. I mean, I'm not. They're favored. I'm not acting as if it's not going to happen.
Right.
But essentially, I'm gonna be honest.
They also need Virginia Tech to beat Virginia.
Yeah, I just don't think SMU is beating Cal, or I don't think Cal's beating SMU. That's plain and simple, and that's just what I think is going to happen. So. I don't know. Miami's got a path. Their path is more likely just to get to the playoff in general. Like, they're probably going to jump Utah, and I think a lot of teams are after what happened yesterday. But that's their path, is by being an at-large. Their path is not going to be through the world of ACC title.
Let's also look at this. If SMU does win, if Miami, Wake Forest beats Duke, and Virginia Tech beats Virginia, Miami goes and plays SMU in a rematch.
Say that again.
Okay. SMU win.
Yeah.
Wake Forest beats Duke. Miami beats Pitt, as you'd expect. Virginia Tech beats Virginia. Then it would be an SMU-Miami rematch in Charlotte. Because Miami would be above Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Pitt in conference opponent winning percentage.
Okay. It's not. I mean, they're not getting that scenario, so... I'm already.
The only really unlikely thing in that scenario is Virginia Tech over Virginia. Everything else.
SMU is not losing to Cal. There's no. SMU got flattened yesterday.
This would be an SMU win. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
SMU
Look,
and Miami
I'm
would
not.
Play.
Not that I don't care, but I don't give a fuck.
Right.
These fucking scenarios are the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It really is some of the worst things I've ever heard of in my life.
Well, the fact that it's even still a possibility. We started the show talking about we need the divisions back, and this would be so much easier.
So this is what I did when we first started. You actually might remember this because we talked extensively about the conference expansion back in 2022, 2023 when we were doing Loudmouth CFB. When we were doing that, my proposal was 20 team conferences, 9 conference games, round robin in your division, 10 per division. You play a round robin against your division. Don't play anybody outside of said division. And then you meet up with the other division champ to go to the college, to go to the playoff. That was when it was 4 teams. Now that it's 12 teams, I mean, I don't know what the right option is, truthfully. Like, part of me feels like if we'd have left the regionality alone, the playoff conversation would have been left alone. Like, you know what I mean? The playoffs would be 12 or 16 or whatever teams. The Pac-12 stays in its own, existence, and it works out fine. I feel like we have confused everything by all of this change and all of this addition and all these fucking 15 to 20 team conferences now. What are we really trying to accomplish other than lining pockets? Like, this is not.
That's all that matters.
I mean, but this is these different scenarios. Like, this should just be very simple, head to head. And if head to head doesn't work, then figure out the combined record, I suppose, against the common opponents. And if that doesn't work out, it should be overall record. That should be your 3, and you move the fuck on. There should not be any other conversation.
Or a coin flip.
Okay.
I mean, that's how it gets decided in Friday Night Lights, man.
Yeah, it's in Texas football. All right.
I know.
Louisville and SMU. SMU takes control. No Miller Moss yesterday for the Cards, and it showed. The offense just didn't move the ball. Deuce Adams didn't look great. He was the one that got the start. SMU dominates, moves on. They are again they're a win and in next week. They're sort of a win and in situation. I think I figure it out next week. I'm serious. I'm done talking about conference championship shit. It's confusing the shit out of me. Wake Forest and Delaware, 52-14 win for Wake Forest over the Blue Hens. They were up 35-7, I think, at halftime. They took care of business, and that's a team that has a chance to be 9-3 in year 1 under Jake Dicker. We talked about it yesterday, that I think they will be, and it requires a win over Duke next week. Speaking of Duke, they won 32-25 over North Carolina. They take home the win in the Tobacco Road showdown. Move to 6-5. So here's how I will be happy next week, right? I'm going to be happy either way. Wake Forest either beats Duke and goes 9-3. I'm stoked for that. Or Duke wins and goes 7-5 and hits an over 6.5 ticket I have on their win total. I'm winning either way. I'm in a great mood either way. So we'll see how next week looks, but a big one there in all reality, because Duke's still alive for this conference title race. Again, it takes chaos, but yes. So we'll look at that if it comes down to it. Clemson and Furman. Look, Clemson. Look, you're not in the SEC. That's very obvious after the way this season's gone. I don't think you get to do this the week before. But it's all right, I guess.
Allow it this time.
Yeah, and I mean, look. Somebody's gonna sit there and be like, "Well, you didn't make fun of Wake Forest for doing it." They aren't supposed to be in their position right now, so we're just going to let Wake have their moment. Stanford 31-10 win over Cal. Great. I mean, that's what everybody expected, right? Stanford to win 31-10 over Cal.
Shutting out Cal in the second half. Andrew Luck with the bald spot.
Dude, what the fuck are we doing? Gosh. Like, can we is Andrew Luck just going to make himself the head coach at this point? I mean, can we just do that? I mean, he's the one taking every interview. He's fielding every interview, talking about everything. He had an interview in the middle of the game with which they had a scoop and score touchdown in that. And then you followed up at the end of the game, and they're interviewing Andrew Luck. Fuck Frank Reich. They don't give a shit about him. They want to talk to Andrew Luck.
I was
Just
to say
make
Frank
him
Reich.
that fucking head. You want to make him the face of the program? Make him the head coach. He's calling all the shots, anyways. What's the difference between what he's doing? He's just not on the sideline. He's not taking any responsibility for
Right,
wins and losses. Is all that's happening.
right. It's because Frank Reich is an interim and has always been like announced as such. That's part of the reason why don't think they care, because he's not gonna, he's not, in theory, supposed to be there long term. They're just, he got, put in after the Troy Taylor firing, and while they still have to make a decision, because they're actually still part of this coaching carousel, even though it doesn't feel like it, because they have Frank Reich, because Andrew Luck is the GM.
I'm gonna tell you
But
right
they
now,
were really the
Stanford's pulling a. Actually, I have an idea who I think Stanford's gonna go after. Believe this or not. Now, this is not anybody that no, I have no inside information on this, so I'll be very clear.
Mhm.
Assuming they don't retain Frank Reich, which is really fully up to Frank on, I think, what he wants to do. Because I mean,
Yeah.
his tag was retired prior to this. If I believe so, he left the Colts from health problems, right? That was the issue that he had.
I thought so.
Um,
Yeah. I can look.
That's fine. I don't. I'm not worried about that enough. But if he decides he doesn't want to stay, there's a coach currently in the state of California who has done a great job where he is under an interim tag himself, and actually did a great job under a full season long interim tag just down the road from Palo Alto. Tim Skipper at UCLA right now. I think he's going to get a look as a head coach somewhere, whether it's a G5 or a Power 4. Stanford's not going to win a race for a top name candidate, right? But they could certainly go out, and they're either going to go the same route they did with Troy Taylor and go FCS, bring somebody up, and then they're going to bring somebody up who runs more of an ancient offense. I don't say that in a negative way, but more of like the pro style
Right.
offense that we're used to.
Hmm.
I mean, they're either going to go and do this thing where they grab somebody like Tim Skipper, who's capable of doing that, or they're going to go and drop down and bring up somebody. Forgive me for blanking on a name, but I mean, go get the guy from Montana State.
That's who I was just thinking. I can't
I
think of
mean,
his name, but
or Montana, like, bring somebody up from that area who can play that physical bully ball style and make it work,
yeah,
right? Who can coach it. Um,
Brent Vigen.
yeah, like that's what I think Stanford's route's going to be if they don't retain for Reich, but I don't know. But again, it's like Andrew Luck fields every fucking interview for the team.
Right.
Like, we all know that he's the one calling every shot, and it's very clear. So I don't know. It's weird to me. It's a very weird situation. It's one of those where it's like, man, I really, like, we talk about LSU being a place I don't know if I'd want to be a part of. I don't know if Stanford's a place I'd want to go coach either. As a guy that's already at the Power 4, like, you'd be taking a almost certain regression. Or as somebody who's at the G5 level, but successful at the G5 level, you're basically making a lateral move, especially in the NIL game. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. Big 12, we got BYU with a 26-14 win over Cincinnati. That was a big one on the road last night for them. Also, BYU -2.5 gets a decent little cover there for us. We're happy with that. BYU is still in control of their own destiny, really, for whether or not they make the playoff. It's going to require them to just win out and take care of their business, and they've done a great job of that. Their defense has been great. Their offensive line has played very well. A team that I think has some potential to create some damage, but it's going to require Bear Bachmeier to be a little bit more consistent in the passing game. We'll get to that if they get there, though. Not a whole lot to add.
I was gonna say, I mean, we're in a scenario now, and I mean, it's going to depend on what chaos or what have you, plays out around the rest of the other conferences. But we're in a scenario where BYU, they get a home win over UCF, next week. Even if they lose a Big 12 championship game, which, I mean, as long as they win against UCF, they'll be there. How do you leave them out for having to, take a second loss in a conference title game?
Yeah.
But
Gonna make
I
it
mean, they're still
interesting.
a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, they have UCF next week. They'll be all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Utah wins 51-47 over Kansas State. I think this officially takes Utah out of playoff conversation, barring some catastrophic results.
Hmm.
They're likely going to push some guys. Miami up above them, more than likely. They'll probably throw another name or two, another team or two up there above as
Yeah.
well. You just can't struggle all the way through this game, and they got down there and were able to win the game late, but just not a good showing from Utah, especially not at home against this K-State team who's really not been able to move the ball against anybody, to include Oklahoma State. Um, that's a tough one. I think last night I don't know that there's a lot of forgivable moves from that one.
Yeah. So going into the last week of the season, and I'm not going to go through all the scenarios. BYU, Texas Tech winning in, Arizona State, Utah win, and they need some help from BYU and or Texas Tech losing
Mm-hmm.
in order to get there. Those are the four teams that can go to the Big 12 championship.
Gotcha. TCU beats Houston 17-14, effectively eliminating Houston from Big 12 title contention.
Hmm.
That was one of our misses. TCU Houston over 54.5, I think it was. We didn't even get close. TCU's defense stepped up yesterday, and in a big way.
Yeah.
And they got some help from a college kicker situation. But
A couple times. I mean,
nonetheless, TCU gets a win. I mean, it's a big one for them. The TCU over hits, so that's a part of our take 10 from week 0. We go back to week 0 on our season total bets. TCU over 6.5 is now officially a hit.
all right. Here's what I'm going to say. That was a game that we snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat. I'm ready for the Josh Hoover experience to be over. I I'm here's the thing. You look at the end of that game, you know, you take a field goal, make Houston try to go down the field and win with a touchdown. You know, it might still happen where Houston does, but after the big run from Wegman that put them in field goal range, it just seemed like Houston was going to find a way to win. It just getting stuff there. I get the scenario and and trying to get the punch in and just put it on ice, but even if you take a three and make Houston go the length of the field, your defense has been playing great all day long. Trusting them one more time, it nearly backfired, and it just like I said, it felt like a game that TCU should have lost. 3 picks from Hoover, a couple missed field goals that gave took Houston out of the path to winning this one. I'm happy that we won, but it's one of those things that I just don't understand. This was our first ranked win since the semifinal game against Michigan. We went nearly 3 years without beating a ranked team, and it's that's not. I think they'd be the first to tell you that that's not what they want this program to be. Is not I mean, what we saw last week was not anything what we wanted to see from this program here over the last few years.
Yeah.
And to win this game without having Bud Clark, I mean, I give them all the credit in the world, but boy, they don't make it easy. They just don't make it easy.
Yeah. Arizona State beats Colorado 42-17. There was a point with which Colorado was making a way to tie this game at 21. They ended up kicking a field goal, and it was on from there. Arizona State rolled.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot to add. Just a good win. Arizona State, first time ever wearing Sparky, the old classic Sparky, on a white helmet.
I loved
Pretty
it.
sick look it was. So.
I absolutely loved it. Pepperidge Farm remembers when this was a 14-13 Colorado lead in the third.
Yeah.
So.
Iowa State beats Kansas 38-14. That's pretty much what we figured would happen. Iowa State just better. Arizona beats Baylor 41-17. They're going to set up an 8-3 matchup between the two Arizona schools in the Territorial Cup, as Cam made it aware to me.
Huge, man. Friday Territorial Cup has to find a way onto the quad box somewhere.
Yeah. Oklahoma State loses to UCF. They're now 1-10. They'll play somebody next week to go 1-11. And Iowa State, great. So we know where that's going.
Oklahoma State was up 14-0 in this game.
Hmm.
What happened? What'd you do? How'd you lose this one,
So
cowpokes?
here's what we have. We have 8-3s, Arizona and Arizona State next week. That'll be a fun little matchup there.
Hmm.
Arizona currently a 1.5 point favorite over the Sun Devils in Tempe.
On the road. Interesting.
We've got Cincy and TCU for a chance at 8 wins. That'll be that's just a storyline thing, nothing crazy.
Hmm.
Houston and Baylor will play in Waco for a chance for Baylor to just make a bowl game. This is a team that I had going to the conference title preseason based on experience. It didn't work out.
Hmm.
Big miss there. Texas Tech looks to finish 11-1 in Morgantown. West Virginia looking to carry their November momentum through. Um, that's kind of your look ahead at next week. And then you got Utah and Kansas, which is what the fuck is that doing in rivalry week? But okay.
Right. I mean, Kansas needs a win to go bowling. You're in a position where Baylor needs a win. Kansas State needs to beat Colorado, which they should. But I mean, don't let that 3-8 fool you. And then UCF has to beat BYU if they want to go bowling. That's the win and in scenarios for postseason play for the Big 12.
So I'm gonna ask you just a quick question, okay? I'm gonna give you a couple stat
Okay.
lines. I want you to not look at anything. I want you to close your computer down. I want you just to listen to what I'm saying for a second, okay?
All
Genuinely,
right.
this is seriously like
Yeah.
a war of wills, right?
Yeah.
So there are two teams that played yesterday.
Okay.
That will play next week. That had a lighter opponent this week. Before they go into their big matchup, a team may have won four
Hmm.
straight in said matchup. So if I told you these stats, okay, if I told you
Okay.
these specific stats, what would you believe? Okay, Team A had 430 total yards, 176 passing yards, 254 rushing yards. Uh, Team A's quarterback threw for 14 of 22. Okay, with those
Okay.
with a couple touchdowns, I think it was. Uh, yeah. Sorry, Team A's starting quarterback was 13 of 19 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. Okay. Now, when I tell you Team B here, Team B had 443 total yards, 215 through the air on 16 of 23, and 228 on the ground on 50 carries. Who was Team A and who was Team B?
Well, my first thought was Team A was Michigan, Team B was Ohio State. But the more I'm thinking about it, that rushing total for Team B sounds like it might have been Michigan over instead of Ohio State. But I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to say Michigan is Team A, Ohio State is Team B.
Well, you should have went with the second option because no. As a matter of fact, Bryce Underwood,
Football.
16 of 23, 215, and 2 touchdowns himself. Lincoln Keenel's 13 19 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. Um, okay. Interesting, right? I mean, that's you wouldn't be expecting that stat line because you would have thought,
Right.
especially like the Michigan MO is we're just going to run the ball at you and our quarterbacks don't put
Yeah.
a lot on the board. Well, Michigan the last 2 weeks has had almost 500 yards of offense in both of those games, or has
Hmm.
been over the 400-yard mark in both of those games.
Yeah.
498 last week against Northwestern, 443 this week. This team was 12 of 14 on third downs yesterday.
Wow.
Believe that or not.
Man.
The third running back this season to have 3 touchdowns in a game since 2000. The first time that Michigan's had 3 running backs have 3 touchdowns in a game since 2000. That is thanks to Bryson Cusdahl, 3 touchdowns yesterday in the win. Michigan wins 45-20 over Maryland. I said it yesterday here on the show. I think Michigan's going to hit the over on their own. They were close. They were real close. The over was 40. Oh, the over under was 46.5. The opening line for that was 45.5. They were literally 2 points off
Yeah.
of covering the over. Look, there was something that this Michigan team found last week that they were excited about, and it came down to not turning the ball over this week, which really helped them out a lot. You're gonna have to do it again next week. I'm not saying that it's gonna make it easy, but I've had a lot of people in that Columbus area telling me that they are not looking forward to this game next week. And I'm somebody who's been very adamant that Michigan's going to lose next week, and even I'm starting
Yeah.
to sit here and be like, man, this team might be figuring it out at the perfect time. I mean, this is the perfect time. I mean, look, when you look at the amount of freshmen that are on this team and making significant impact on this team, you look at the quarterback position, of course, Bryce Underwood. You look at Andrew Marshus, who stepped up and become one of the best wide receivers in the conference. Um, I'd say he'd probably rank top 5 as of right now. That's not being a homer. Like, that's just, you look at what he's done since really picking up in his role. Um, you look at the defensive side of the ball; they've been pretty good. They got a couple of, I think 2 freshmen on the offensive line that are starting, 2 redshirt freshmen that are starting there. I mean, this is a team that is young all around. I think they're the youngest in the Big Ten by overall age, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this is a team that has a lot still on the table, a lot of football on the table in front of them at the University of Michigan should they stay. And they're starting to figure out how to win games. They're starting to figure out who they are and how to build that identity and again, be able to be comfortable throwing the football.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to get hot. And you're going into a game next week where the weather looks like shit in Ann Arbor. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's one team that we know can win a shitty football game in that stadium. Because we've seen them do it. So, very intrigued by that matchup ahead against Ohio State. We are previewing that game this week. And I have a special guest coming on to do so. Very excited for that. I'm very excited for that video. There was a time.
I cannot wait.
There was a time where I would not have looked for. I probably wouldn't have even asked this dude to come on the show. But no, we've been bullshitting back and forth. We're gonna have a pretty good show this week. We're very excited for what's to come.
What day can the folks at home expect that one to drop?
Tuesday, I think. I think we're going for Tuesday. So we'll be
okay.
We're on. I believe he's got the week off for I think they got a shutdown at work this week.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah. Well, I only work Wednesday, Thursday this week. Now, Wednesday, Thursday, but I only work Wednesday, Thursday. And I know who I'm working with Thursday, so I'm excited for that night. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Probably a little chaotic, maybe, but
You'll probably
be
be on the cruise, and for people that have, Patricked and did a fried turkey in their house. And
if I'm going to tell you right now, okay, like there are times where I want to tell people like, you're fucking stupid on this job. I'm not even kidding. There have been nights where I've been like, you're serious. That would probably take the cake. I'd probably. I'm like, well, you weren't a fucking dumbass. Maybe you would have scalded yourself. But hey, it is what it is. No, so I'm excited for this game next week. I'm excited to preview it. It's hard for me to go against Ohio State and what they've done defensively this year, right? But I've certainly had a bit of a change of heart in how I feel about this game. I do not know what to take next Saturday. All I'm looking at right now, over-under is at 44.5. And it's Michigan plus 11.5. I'm probably hammering the under and Michigan plus 11.5.
Yeah.
I don't think Michigan gets blown out. I don't think they lose by more than 1 score. But I don't think anybody hits 20. That's my early take for this game next week. Yeah. Very excited to get to that game. But Michigan wins 45-20, back-to-back weeks. This is what last week should have looked like. I mean, this is really what it should have looked like. So, to answer the call, do it again this week. Repeat the actions of last week, just with better execution. Hitting the right note at the right time. That's all I'll say. I know I've spent a lot of time on this, but obviously I watch every game that these two teams play, and I'm for obvious reasons. Ohio State beat Rutgers 42-9, and if that would have happened, I'd be a lot on a different tune this week. Ohio State beat Rutgers 42-9, led by their running game was phenomenal yesterday. Bo Jackson certainly has seemed to be the guy at the running back position. 19 carries for 110. James Peoples had 3 for 55 and a touchdown on a 49-yard run that put them up. Isaiah West looked good. Like they found a bit of a running game, and 38 carries, 254 yards, 6.7 per carry. That's against Rutgers. Understand that. Same way that we're not overly impressed with Michigan doing that against Maryland, right? But it's going to be an exciting matchup. We've seen that the team that wins the rushing battle wins this game a lot. Will Ohio State stick to the run? Will they be able to run the ball against Michigan? Will Michigan be able to run the ball against Ohio State? I mean, that's legitimate questions. Very excited for this game, man. I can't quite state it enough. I'm very excited for this game. Very excited for what it's going to bring to the table. It's going to be a very fun week ahead here in the
Oh, absolutely.
uh, around our groups. I think.
So just from the perspective of the teams that lost, Maryland, you still have that bet of 4.5 under.
Under 4.5.
And after
They play Michigan
uh,
State next week for a chance.
yeah, it's a possibility. Also, with Ohio State beating Rutgers, it sets up a bowl win and in. Rutgers hosting Penn State, both teams at 5-6, and you know, who would have thought that before the season that Penn State would need to win at Rutgers to go bowling
Yeah, jeez.
with everything that's
Yeah,
happened?
a team that I had making the playoff and making a very deep run in said playoff.
I
Man,
think everybody had that thought.
talk about USC Oregon. Illinois beats or loses to Wisconsin. My bad. Wisconsin beats
Mm.
Illinois in Camp Randall. Man, Bert, you couldn't just go on the road. You're getting Bert today because you couldn't go on the road and beat this Wisconsin team. My goodness, man. 27-10, Wisconsin dominates Illinois. I mean, it wasn't even a close game. This was
No.
Wisconsin and Wisconsin all the way. A big win for Luke Fickell. We kind of talked about it, right? Like,
Hmm.
hot seats certainly building up. This is not a position he wants to be in. They've already announced they're going to stick to him for next year. Minnesota next week in Minneapolis for a chance to be 5-7. I think they can get that done. They're playing a lot better. A lot of this comes down to injuries and things that just haven't gone their way. I would really like to see what they do over the
Yeah.
offseason, how they address it in the portal. I think Wisconsin will be in a good spot. It's going to take just keeping a team healthy for once. I think would be the biggest thing to maybe start for them.
Yeah.
As for Illinois, I just don't even know how we got to that. I mean, 248 passing yards from Luke Altmaier. They only ran for 50 yards. 1.7 per carry is probably where it ends there.
Yeah.
Northwestern beats Minnesota 38-35 on a missed field goal opportunity from Minnesota to take it to overtime. So Northwestern,
What was the
their first win in Wrigley Field ever.
Yeah. And what was that stat about Northwestern had a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and like multiple 100-yard receivers in a game for the first time this century, something like that?
Yeah, so Preston Stone, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. By the way, dude, 25 of 30 from Preston Stone, dude.
Efficient.
He has really figured it out as the year has gone on. He's been much better than what Week 1 showed. Yes, they had a 100-yard rusher. By the way, they ran for 220 yesterday. They dominated on the ground, dude. They had over 500 yards of offense. Um, and then yes, they had 2 100-yard receivers on top of it.
Crazy.
Yes, and they're bowling, by the way. And again, that was
Yeah.
their first win in Wrigley Field. And David Braun is the first coach to have to make a bowl game in 2 of his first 3 seasons as a head coach at Northwestern.
Look at
So
that.
good for them, man.
Hmm.
Iowa beats Michigan State 20-17. I think they had a walk-off
Oh,
field goal there too.
they
Close
did.
one over there. Michigan State
13-0
is
fourth
getting
quarter.
Michigan State's getting better, and they're playing some decent ball. I think they'll beat Maryland next week and keep my under alive there. But
I think so too.
they're not as bad as the record indicates, man. They really got a schedule of teams that just learn how to play football at the right times against them. So
Hmm.
yesterday was more of the fact they were just in Kinnick and couldn't close it out, but I think they'll get it done.
Yeah.
They will not be a winless team in the Big Ten this year. Penn State beats Nebraska 37-10. That game went pretty much the way we thought it should and would.
Hmm.
Oh, by the
John
way,
Allen,
go back real quick. Michigan plus 13 or minus 13.5 was a hit on our take 10. I just wanted to throw that. Penn State 37-10
Gotcha.
victory. Katron Allen was great, as you were saying. 160,
He was
6.4 per carry.
he became the all-time rushing leader in Penn State history.
Yeah.
Yesterday in the win, and I believe, if I'm remembering right, Nick Singleton tied a Saquon Barkley rushing touchdown record.
Possible,
So
I don't know, but I know that he went over 50 a couple weeks ago. I think he's even further over that now. Ethan
yeah.
Grunkemeyer looks good. 11-12, 181 and a
Mhm.
touchdown yesterday. I mean, just straight up
Yeah.
efficient. This kid's from a local area from where I grew up. Went to Olentangy High School in Lewis Center, as is technically where that's called. And he's a very smart kid, but plays really well. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does if he's getting the reins of this offense next year, and if he's not, I'm excited to see where he goes because he's not sticking around to be the
Yeah.
backup. He is the real deal, I think, and I'm excited to see what he's got. Washington just dominates UCLA. I mean, there's not much to add to that game. That was just
Yeah.
great work from them. All right. SEC. Let's get through the cupcake stuff here. South Carolina beats Coastal 51-7. Texas A&M beats Samford 48-0. Alabama beats Eastern Illinois 56-0. Auburn beats Mercer 62-17, and LSU beats Western Kentucky 13-10. I thought you said cupcake. Well, it was supposed
That
to be.
cupcake, that cupcake had a little bit of cyanide in it almost.
Yeah. Rodney Tisdale, 2 interceptions in this game, but was 20 of 39 for 128. That's not good at all.
No,
22 rushing yards from this Western Kentucky offense.
that's not going to be enough to get it
Let's
done.
take a look at these stats. 202 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick for Michael Van Buren. 126 rushing yards from this LSU offense. And a fumble lost by Harlan Berry in this game. Losing the turnover battle probably didn't help, but man, this is I mean, I thought they were going to cover this, and they weren't even close. I mean, they dominated every facet of the game, and yet they still only won 13-10. That's just blows my mind. Yeah. Tennessee beats Florida 31-11. They were up 31-0 at halftime. Cruise in the second half. Tennessee minus 3.5 is a hit. Texas wins.
First road win for Tennessee in the swamp since 2003.
Yeah. Texas beats Arkansas 52-37. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that.
This was a 24-20 game at halftime before Texas poured it on in the third.
Vanderbilt beats Kentucky 45-17. Vandy minus 8.5 hits. And then we talked about Oklahoma and Missouri, but Missouri plus 7.5 missed there. I'm trying to see what I missed here. I feel like I missed one of my a pick or two. So we got Missouri plus 7.5. That was a miss. Michigan minus 13.5. FAU plus 6.5. Those hit. Sam Houston and Louisville both missed on their covers. BYU covered 2.5. TCU Houston under or over missed, so that was a loss. Vandy minus 8.5. San Diego State minus 11.5. Tennessee minus 3.5. That was a 6-4 week, putting us at 59-65 on the year. We're 6 below 500 with 2 weeks to go, plus week 0 picks. We still have 3 of those to hit, and we can hit all 3 of them next week with some luck. We need an FAU win next week to go over 4.5. We need a Duke win next week to go over 6.5, and we need a Maryland loss next week to go under 4.5. And there you have it. We go 6-4 in our week 0 picks too. Really, we just need a good week above 500 next week, and we'll be in a good spot. So if we can come out of there with about 6 or 7 wins, all told, we'll be right where we need to be. So it's gonna come down to the wire to see if I can get the 500. But man, what a run lately has been, man. 6-4, 7-3, and 6-4. We've been now, what is that? 2, 5, we're 7 games above 500 over the last 3 weeks.
Sounds that way, yeah.
So we'll keep rolling.
By the way, did you see the ending of that Division II playoff game that had the lateral and worked all the way down the field? It was Benedict came back and beat Wingate 25-24 in the first round of the Division II playoffs, and on just one of those wild, wacky, kind of plays.
Yeah. Taking a look real quick at the FCS ranks just for a moment. Yale beats Harvard.
I was going to say, the bracket should be coming out here pretty soon.
I'm not staying live for that, but
well,
all I'm saying, I just want to cover some of the games yesterday. Yale beats Harvard 45-28. Surprising, but Yale seemingly has had the number for the last few years, so I'm not terribly surprised. Lehigh beats Lafayette. They finished the season undefeated. They are one of 2 to do so. North Dakota State being the other.
Mm-hmm.
A big win there. Tennessee Tech gets a big comeback victory over UT Martin. They were in danger of losing. Tennessee Tech undefeated against FCS opponents this season. Their only loss game to
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky earlier, just a week ago.
Yeah.
South Carolina State beats Delaware State, so South Carolina State will be the one playing for the MEAC.
Celebration Bowl.
As far as I'm aware, yes, the MEAC title. Yep,
I think they'll
South
get.
Carolina State wins the MEAC at 9-3. They will face the winner of the championship in the SWAC, which comes down to Jackson State and Prairie View A&M.
Okay. Interesting. I was to say, I thought Alabama State had a shot, but no, because they did lose that game to Jackson State, they get to finish off the season with Tuskegee on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Quick shout out to the boys. Dayton 7-4 this year. 42-14 victory over Davidson. That game was pretty local to me. I actually played obviously in Davidson, same school that Steph Curry went to. For those who don't know.
Yeah.
Good
Rhode
one there.
Island won the Colonial outright for the first time in 40 years. They beat Hampton 38-10, so they should be in that auto bid.
Yeah. Montana State beats Montana 31-28. They get the Big Sky bid. Obviously, Montana's gonna go to the playoffs either way, though, by way of a different bid. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what the bracket looks like. The first round matchup should be out at some point later today. And we will be talking a little bit of FCS at some point here, the first round again next Saturday. So we'll take a little bit of a look at it. But with all that said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. It's been a good Sunday show. We've covered everything that there is to cover here. And we appreciate you tuning in. So make sure you stick around. We'll be back. Not certain about a video tomorrow, but I'm certain that we will be having a few previews over the course of the week. So make sure you stick around, tune in. It'll start with Michigan and Ohio State on Tuesday. Thank y'all so much. Have a great rest of your weekend.